Change garage door springs by Garage Door Nation.
All right, we have 2 springs over here. We're going to be changing these 2 springs out and replacing them with 2 regular torsion springs. I got the tools we need right here. Got a 9/16. You could also use a wrench, 7/16, pair of vice grips and winding bars. So this is what we're going to start out with. And all we're going to do is make sure you got a good ladder to stand on. And we're just going to go up here and loosen the set screws. See the winding bars all the way into the spring cone. This is known as the cone. So now it's nice and loose, both of your set screws. And we're just slowly going to unwind this older spring. Make sure your winding bars are all the way in when you're loosening this stuff. So there's your first spring unwound. You can see that line going across. Watch your step. Now we're going to go ahead and do the second spring. Grab your 7/16 winding bar. That is loose set screws. And we're just going to unwind like we did the other side, making sure the winding bar is all the way in. So now they're both totally loose and the cables came off on each end. That's what is expected. So now what we're going to do is loosen up our drums. So you got 2 set screws on the drums. Just loosen these guys up. All right, there's one drum, and we're gonna go do this other drum. Just loosen up the set screws is all I'm doing. So the set screws are loose. What we're gonna do is loosen up the springs with a 9/16. There's 1 and 2. So we loosen those guys up. I'm just going to slide these over. And see, these slid easily, which is nice. But you see where that old mark is on here. Some of the time what you're going to need to do is grab a metal file. I actually got this from Harbor Freight. And you're going to want to really file where these edges are so the other spring won't have a hard time getting over this. So, and you might have to do more than that, but typically on this one I don't even really need to file, so I just wanted to show you that. And now what I'm going to do is push this out to one side. So now I can get this spring off. So we're going to move over here and go ahead and slide the drum off, set it down somewhere, and this other spring should slide right off. And this is your old spring. We're going to put on a new spring. If you look at both of these springs, there's a red and a black end. the red never goes on the right. Even though this is a right wound spring, the red goes on the left. And this one's gonna go on this side. But I wanna show you something. These bearing plates right over here are completely wore out. They're just spinning and there's no more bearing left inside of there. It's gonna reduce your cycle life. Each time the door goes up and comes down is one cycle. And unfortunately, these springs have reached their cycle life. They're getting ready to break. And this bearing plate is completely gone. There's no way to repack these bearing plates. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. What I'm gonna do is take my 9/16. Bearing plates are put in differently depending on what part of town you're in and what state you're in. These bearing plates have two 9/16 bolts going into them. Some of them have a 7/16 lag bolt that goes into the 2x6. We're just gonna go ahead and pop these apart. There's one bolt and two bolts. And let me just show you here. A bunch of dust came off of this, but these bearings are gone. Let me show you the new plate. Same exact plate. But when I turn this one, see that? This is brand new. These bearings are nice and firm. These bearings are completely gone. And what's going to happen is these bearings are going to cause these springs to go bad very, very quickly. So if you ever notice when you're ordering your springs, you should always order bearing plates because they're the same age and the same cycle life. So we're going to go ahead and put the new one on. So you just come back to where you were. And it looks like that was on the bottom mound here. So we're just going to take this, put this right here. It's a bad angle, I know, but, and then put the other one right in here. So now all I'm going to do is grab my black-ended spring and slide it back on. Boom. Take the drum. Same way you took it off, slide it back on. Now what I do from this side is I'm going to take the torsion tube. Well, unfortunately, it's not pulling. It's stuck on the center brace, so we're going to go to the middle. And what I'm going to do is literally guide it over from here. See, what happens is it gets caught up on this piece. So now we're just going to push this in a little bit. Now we got plenty of room to take the spring out on that side. And I'm going to grab my other bearing plate and my other spring. There's one spring and the other bearing plate. And we're just going to set everything up. Now, one thing I want to mention, whoever put these in did a pretty good job because they didn't over-tighten onto the torsion tube. A lot of times guys over-tighten the crap out of the set screws. And that's a big no-no. So sometimes you guys might have to file these little areas for everything to go on smooth. This one, they did a good job. They didn't over-tighten it. Keep that in mind when you're tightening your springs and your drums. That once it starts getting tight, you just got to go one half turn and it's good. They don't need to be cranked into this tube. So now we're just going to pop off the bearing plate. And I dropped one of the bolts, so I'm going to grab it. We're going to take the new one. This one's the same deal, completely worn out. If you don't change the bearing plates out when you change the springs out, you're going to reduce your cycle life, and you're going to end up not liking it because the door's going to pop off track. So take this one, put it on the way we found it. Pretty simple. Take this, pop it on. I usually just get the bolt started and then let the impact do the work. Voila. And don't forget, put your drum back on. Slide it into about the same spot that it was. Now, if it's really bad and your bearing plates are really bad, what they'll start doing is they'll dig into your torsion tube, and you'll really have to file your torsion tube. Sometimes it's good to replace a torsion tube depending on how much they dug in. Now we're just going to go back to the center here. Oh, I didn't put my spring back on. Didn't put the spring back on. So pop it back out and pop the spring on. It's not going to pop back out. It's a lot easier when I'm not giving a tutorial. For an experienced guy, this shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes. Pop that on, pop this on, slide it back in. You're good to go. Come back in the middle, grab your nuts and bolts, and we're gonna just slide these bad boys in. One screw down, two screws, adding the nuts. Tight. Right now both of the cables are off. There's no tension on the springs. First thing I like to do is set the cables. There's different guys that are out there that are professionals that set the cables after they wind. It's really not the best way to do it in my opinion. So you're gonna need these, and you're gonna need these. 7/16, and then you need your vice grips. You got the cable in the drum. You're gonna take the cable, pop it in the drum, make sure it's nice and tight and not sticking out the back end here. And you just start wrapping it around. You got to get it all the way over. So we wrap it around, make sure it's not stuck on anything. And then we got to just tighten up the drum. And then you're going to take the vice grips and you just pop them up a little bit to keep the tension on the cables. And it's like a guitar string. It's not too tight, and these are right up against the ceiling. They can't go anywhere. Make sure the cable's not latched on to anything. Sometimes it gets stuck on the rail at certain points. Usually by just snapping it, you can tell if it's stuck on something. Now this cable's a little bit different. This one you don't need vice grips on. You're just going to take it, put it in its spot. It's right in there. So some of the time what will happen is it'll end up being locked out and latched out like that. That's not good. We want to make sure it's nice and locked in place. And then you just could take it right here and start wrapping it around. And see, this is bad. See the cable stuck behind the door? So what we're going to do is pull the cable back out. So when the cables get stuck like that, you just got to spend some time and fish it out. So we got the cable loose. Pull it back up there. Got it in there, it's not sticking out. Take it, get it started. Push it up against there. Get these finger tight. And literally take it and turn it so it's tight. So I'm going to turn it clockwise so it's tight. A lot of times what guys will do is they'll lift up with their shoulder a little bit while they turn this. I don't really do that. If you got gloves on, you can just pull this down. And just tight enough. Cable tension is perfect. You don't need to pull up too hard. If you pull up too hard, you'll have a crack underneath and you'll be letting all the bugs in. So just get it just nice like a guitar wire. And then we're going to wind them. Make sure you have professional winding bars. Do not wind these with screwdrivers. This is where you hear nightmares. It's about people winding springs without the right tools. You need the winding bars. You go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the deal. This door is 7 foot tall. So for each foot tall, you go 1 full revolution, which is 4 quarter turns. So you're going to go 28 to 30 quarter turns. If it was 8 foot tall, you'd go 32 to 34 quarter turns. So I'm at 4 right now, so I know I'm going to be going 28 to 30, and I'll teach you guys how to balance out the door. So 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. I'm just going to go 29 on this. Grab your 7/16. Get these set screws to where they're finger tight. And one down, one to go. I never like to get where I'm winding the spring underneath it. You want to make sure you're winding the spring away from it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And then we're just going to get them finger tight. Pull it off a little bit. And we'll see how it balances. Springs are done. You can take the vice grips off. So when the door is not balanced, typically what you want to find is the door goes to the middle and it doesn't fall down and it doesn't shoot up. So right now, pretty much wherever I put the door, it's staying where we need it to be. It's not flying up. What I always like to do is take it, you come over here, you look at the door, see how it's still got cable tension when it's all the way up. That's a good sign. We want the door to have cable tension when it's up. That means we use the right springs. So right now we don't have to make any adjustments. So this door is complete. If the door was sagging and falling down, we'd put more winds on the spring. That's assuming you have the right springs. What I always recommend doing is looking at my videos on how to measure the right springs when you take the old ones off before you order new ones. And if the garage door was shooting up, you know it's wound too much. So that's an easy way of seeing how to change out springs and bearing plates, and that'll make sure this door is lasting a long, long time. Thank you.